Hello everyone, in today's video I am going to show you how to do these super easy marble nails, but first I need to deal with my current nail situation, which I think these have been on for 3 or 4 weeks, probably more like 4 weeks looking at that growth, and they need to come off. In fact, all my nails are kind of looking a bit terrible at the moment, except for the middle finger on my left hand, which if you want to see how I did that nail, it will be linked in the cards and in the description box. So let's remove this old gel polish. I am starting off by filing through the gel top coat, and on the nails that have glitter on I'm making sure to file through the glitter so that I'm down to the color coat. Just showing you there how I hold my pinky finger, how to support it, because I am doing this all on my dominant hand with my non-dominant hand. So I apply some cotton pads soaked with acetone and my little nail clips. I let that sit for about 10 minutes and then I go in and scrape it off. If it doesn't all come off, I go and apply more acetone and then soak it a little bit longer and then scrape it off again until all of the gel is removed. If you want to see exactly how I did these nails and what method I used to make them last a long time, I'll link that video in the cards, as well as my other prep video and some more in-depth videos. If this is going through quite quickly just because I don't want it to be a super long video, I will leave some videos linked that show these processes in more detail. But I am going to zoom through and show you all of the removal and all of the prep today. I'll leave a timestamp on screen so we can skip straight to the nail art. Unfortunately, as I was removing the polish from my other hand, the acetone got in and started eating away at the peel-off base coat that I used on this middle finger on my left hand. So there's not much I could do to fix that, so I'm just going to peel it off, and I thought I'd leave that in for you to watch. Again, that video is linked in the cards and in the description. Finished off taking off those last little bits of gel polish. If there were any tiny bits left on there, I just buffed them off during my prep. Then I go in with my cuticle pusher, push back my cuticles, flip it around and use the knife end to scrape off more skin from the nail. Then I use my pterygium stone to get even more cuticle off the nail, and then I use another cuticle tool to scrape more cuticle out of the cuticle. I then file my nail to give it a nice shape, and then I buff the nail. And then I repeat those exact same steps on all of the rest of my nails. You can see here on this nail that it's a bit misshapen. One side is a lot wider than the other side, so I'm using my file and I'm shaping that to a more desirable shape, and I'm doing that on all of the nails. As they've grown out, they are all looking a little bit wider than I would like. I'm kind of narrowing them down to make, I guess, a soft almond, kind of a cross between a round nail and an almond. They're not quite long enough to be almond yet, but they're a little bit more tapered than just a standard round nail. I'm just using my nail file to perfect the shape, and then I'm going to take my buffer and I'm going to buff the free edge and the new growth, and also anywhere that there is a little bit of gel still stuck on my nail. Again, if you want to see more in-depth videos on how to shape your nails, I did a video 2 weeks ago about how to shape your nails using a pencil to get the perfect shape, so I'll leave that linked as well so you can see my tips and tricks on how to shape your nails easily. I did go in with my cuticle nippers and just nip off some loose bits of skin. Then I am going in with my base coat and I'm applying a thin layer of base coat to all of my nails, and then I'm going to cure that in my lamp. Then I'm taking this nude gel polish color. I'm not really using this for the color, although it doesn't really have a color. It's quite sheer. I'm just using this because I'm gonna do almost, I guess, an adaptation of a French design, and I wanted to have more than just top and base coat on the cuticle half of my nail, the upper half of my nail. So I'm putting this color down just basically to add thickness to the entire nail. Now I'm taking my gel polish colors and I'm drawing a line of each color on this palette. And then I decided I wanted more pink and more of the purple. Then I'm taking a tiny dotting tool and doing like a drag marble through the lines. You could scoop it up straight away just with the lines that you had down, but doing the drag marble gives the veining of the marble a more, like the veins are more fine. Now I almost scooped it up at that point, but I didn't. I felt like the veins were still too thick, so I did another round of drag marbles and then I scooped up the gel polish. You do want to be careful to not apply this too thick on the nail because it may not cure properly. So I would advise, if you are doing this, to make sure you're using gels that you know have no issue curing. I would maybe avoid super pigmented colors and colors like blacks that tend to wrinkle if you apply them too thick. So I've just put that on my nail and then I cured it, and that is how the nail came out. And I'm repeating that same step on the rest of my nails. I'm just varying the shape that I apply it on. Unfortunately, on my middle finger here I flooded the side wall, so do be careful on how you place it on the nail and just be aware that you probably will have a lot of polish on your brush like I did. You can see this nail is coming out a lot more subtle, I guess, than the first one. The first index fingernail had very defined veins of marble, and the middle finger is a little bit less defined. You can see on the palette that where I have already scooped up the gel, the marble is more marbled, and then on the side where I haven't scooped up the gel, the veins are more defined. So it is going to vary nail to nail, and if you wanted a very crisp defined marble, then you wouldn't do as many drags through the marble, and maybe you would do a new pile of gel for each nail. But I am just using the same one for all of my nails actually. Now on my pinky finger I did have to do a different shape to the other nails because I guess I didn't have to, but I wanted to cover up the little white marks that I have on my nails, so that kind of dictated the shape that I applied the gel on my little finger. I actually really like the little finger. I think the little finger has the prettiest marble. Now you can see here that the index finger has much more defined veins, and then the other nails it's a bit more swirly, and I personally prefer this more swirly look, but it's all down to personal preference. There's not really any right or wrong way to do this. I am now taking this gel paint from Accents and I am just doing a line along the edge of the marble. I'm just following the natural shape that I created when I applied the gel. I wanted this to be a very natural looking shape. I didn't really want any particular shape, just I am doing this with my left hand, so it kind of helps me that it's not a specific shape. I can just paint along the edge, and if it's not perfect, it probably looks a bit better if there's imperfections. And I'm repeating that step on all of the nails, and then I go ahead and cure that completely. Now when I did the marble, I did one nail and then cured it, then did the next nail and cured it, just because the gel is applied a little bit thicker than usual and I don't want it moving around too much. But as I'm doing these detailed gold lines, I know this gel paint doesn't move very much, so I actually outlined all of the nails and then I cured them all together. Now I'm going in with my top coat, and at this point I am trying to perfect the shape and structure of my nail, because obviously there's a lot more polish on the tip where I put the marble than there is on the naked part of the nail, the part near the cuticle. So I'm just trying to smooth out and make sure there's not a giant lump from where the marble starts. So I did turn my hand upside down to help with the shaping. So this is all the gel that I had left after doing all 5 of my fingers on this hand. So you can see the amount that I used at the start was enough to do the tips on all of my nails. If you were wondering, I'm just using the back of a stamping plate for my palette. I'm not sure if you can see, but I can definitely see there are a few bubbles in the gel, in the marble. You don't want to play with the gel too much, because the more you play with the gel, the more bubbles it will create. But these bubbles, even though you can see them on camera, in person you really can't see them, and I don't think anyone would point them out to you in real life. I still think the marble on my pinky finger is my favorite marble, but it just goes to show that even though I took all of these scoops of gel from the same pile, every nail turned out differently. And I think this is a super easy technique to do. This was my first time using this technique, and I was doing it with my left hand. I didn't do any practice nails or anything like that, so this was literally just try it and go, and it worked out really well for me. Although you can see that the marble on my index finger is quite a bit different than the rest of my fingers. I think my next attempt at this will be pretty much perfect. I think this is a really good technique for beginners, just keeping in mind that you want to keep the gel as thin as possible. If you've got any questions about this technique, or you'd like me to explore it further, because I am interested in how easy it would be to do a full nail, because it was obviously easier for me doing the half nail because I didn't have to worry about flooding the cuticle. But let me know if you've tried this technique, if you've got any tips or tricks for me, and thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you to everyone that likes and comments. I really appreciate it. I love reading your comments and getting to know the people that are watching these videos. Again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next week in my next video. Bye bye!